In this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and cover how to do vector drawings in Photoshop Classroom in a Book Chapter 8. So we'll be using things like the pen tool. We'll be making some custom shapes. Notice that this is not the only time you'll be using the pen tool, but we did want to make sure that you get introduced to it. It's going to take a lot of practice. It's not an easy or comfortable thing for a lot of people to get used to. So let's talk about what we're creating. When we're playing with the pen tool, we're actually creating vector graphics, which means we are creating something that is mathematically changed. It is scalable, so you can make it super small, like a favorite icon, up to the size of a billboard, and you don't have any issues with quality. So if you go through the book, the first few pages have a lot of information all about how to create things with paths and background about paths. I'm going to let you go ahead and play with that. Let's go ahead and go to File and Open. We'll open that page up again. And we want to get the 08 practice. Start. And open. And we're going to get this Connect the Dots page. We're going to learn how to play Connect the Dots with the pen tool. So let's go ahead and do a file save as, and let's call it 08 Practice Working. And I've got one already, so I'm going to save over it. Alright, so what are the things we can do? The first one we're going to do is play with making a line segment. So from A to B. So if I take my pen, which is about halfway down, I need to first go through and decide what are my requirements before I start. So I'm going to go here to my tool mode menu, and I want to make sure that I am drawing a shape, not a path. I want to make sure I don't have any fill. I'm going to go ahead and make the stroke. Well, let's go to our colors, and I'm going to make it bright green. So how about really bright yellow? That's not very bright. Alright, so you can kind of see what I'm doing, or else even go for that one. Now I need to decide, okay, how big do I want it to go? So I don't need it super huge, so I'm going to go ahead and type 4 in there. What is my line style? My stroke option, I'm going to go ahead and go for a plain one. Where do I want it to align? I want it to align not on the inside or the outside, but in the center. So I'm going to pick that middle one. Those are my strokes. And then I need to come over here to my path options. And I want to make sure my thickness is 1, and I have rubber band turned off. Before I start drawing anything, I want to make sure I have created all of those preferences first. So back with my pen tool, I need to create a light straight line from A to B. So I can click on A and click on B. So you'll notice it did make a path for me, but it's also really jagged, which might not be what I want. I want a perfectly straight line. So I'm going to do a Control Z to undo. I'm going to click on my A, I'm going to hold down Shift and now hit B. And then let go of Shift, and now I've got a perfectly straight line. So that works really well if you only want to draw straight lines. Fortunately, you want to do more than draw straight lines. To draw this curved arc, we're actually going to do a couple different things. They've given you these blue dots. When we draw with the pen tool, we get little handles. We want to draw those handles out to these blue dots. So let's try one. We're going to go to A. Oh, because I didn't push Enter, it's still connected to my last path, which I don't want. So I'm going to do a Control Z to undo and push Enter and make sure I'm not connecting those paths anymore. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and come to A. I'm going to come to B, and if I just let go, I'm going to get a straight line, which is not going to help me get that curve. So I'm going to do a Control Z to undo. I'm going to go to B, and I'm going to hold my mouse down and drag those handles until I get to about the middle of that indicator box, that blue, which helps me decide how much is this going to curve. I'm going to come over here to C, and I see I've got another indicator, so I'm going to bring those handles out towards about the middle. And I'm going to come down to D. And because I'm done, I'm going to hit Enter. And now I have that curve done as well. So let's come down to our S shape. Still the same type of thing. But you'll notice that depending on where we have our anchor points, we can move things around. So let's go ahead, click A, come to B and hold to about the middle. Hit C. Oh, but if I just do it, now I get that kind of not a perfect curve, so I don't want that. I'm going to Control Z and hit C and hold and pull it down into the middle of that C. Come down to this red and hold to the middle of the blue. Come down to the red middle of the blue. So you'll notice you're changing the way you're dragging those each time. You see how you can get kind of a better curve depending on how you want to make that go. So that's a little bit closer. And I'm going to come up here to G, and I want to stop, so I'm going to hit end. Now I can decide, okay, I don't like how some of these are turning out. I want to move them around a little bit. You can go ahead and change them. If you come down a little bit farther from your pen tool, get your direct selection tool, and you can actually move these individual points and adjust them so that they're a little bit closer to where you want them to be, and those are your anchor points. You can always add more anchor points. You can play with things. We're not going to go too much into anchor points right now, but I did want you to see that there are ways to make selections if you're not quite happy with what you've got so far. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab my space bar in my hand, and let's go over here to this complex shape, which is actually the beginning of our coffee cup that we'll be drawing later. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my pen tool. I'm going to start with A. I'm going to hit Shift and go to B because I want a straight line. I'm going to hit Shift and go to C for another straight line. Shift D, Shift E. So now I've got all my straight lines done. Now I want to be able to go here to F, so I'm going to click and hold, drag my handle out to about the middle so I get that angle. I'm going to come up here to G, click and hold till I get the angle. And I want to come here to H. At this point, we need to go up, so I need to make sure that we get a nice straight line here. So I need to do something called make a corner point. So I'm going to click on H, and while I do it, I'm going to hold Alt. So I'm going to hit H, I'm going to hit Alt, and I see how you get the different cursor. It's kind of a little caret now. Now it'll make a perfectly straight line. I can undo, hit Alt. If I hit Shift, go up to A, I'll get that straight line. All right, so go through and try this again on your own. I want you to go through and try making the different lines on your own. Just go through and practice. Then pick up the tutorial after you've had a chance to do that. All right, so welcome back. Let's go ahead and get started on how to create this coffee mug shape, because we're actually going to make it by tracing this image right here. So let's take a look at what we have when it comes to the beginning file. So let's go File, Open, and we want 08 Start and Open. Now you're going to notice that on 08 Open we've got three different layers. One's background, one's inside cup or outside cup, so we can see that the dot to dot is giving us here. Or we've got inside handle, which is going to give us the dot to dot for the inside. So first thing we're going to do is play with our outside cup. Before we get started, let's do a file, Save As, and let's go ahead and call this 08 Working. All right, so I've got my 08 working. Now the first thing I'm going to play with is my outside cup. So we're going to play the same dot to dot game. You're going to notice that as we start to draw individual things, we're actually starting to add additional layers. So let's go ahead and grab our pen tool. We're on our outside cup. Let's come to A. Go to B. This time instead of blue dots, they made them red. So go ahead and pull it out to the dot. Go ahead and pull over to C. Come over to D. From D to E, I want a straight line, so I'm going to hit Shift and come down. All right, I'm going to go E to F, F to G, H to I. I can hit my Shift and go up to I. Come over here to J, K, L needs a big curve, M, N. We need to turn that into that corner again. So let's go ahead and hit Alt as we click and connect. So now we've got that outside shape, outside cup. So you can kind of see the nice little yellow that we've got selected there. So now if you go over to your paths panel, you now see we've got that little cup outline right here in our paths panel. But we actually want to add a second shape because we want to make sure that our cup has the inside of the handle actually cut out. Let's go ahead and do a Control S to save what we've got so far. Let's go ahead and go to our paths. And we wanted to this time, before we do that, let's go to Layers. Let's turn off our outside cup. Let's turn on our inside handle. So we've got our new dot to dots. Let's go to our paths. And we're going to be playing with taking this part out. So we want to subtract it. So over here at the top, where we've got our new layer button, we now want subtract from front shape, which is the second one down. And we're going to play our dot to dot game again. So we're going to go from A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, and we can do an Alt and turn that into that corner point again and come on down. So now you'll notice if you look at your path right here, you can actually see we've kind of cut out that little bit.